and welcome back to RC Model Reviews. Now, you've seen this quad before. This is my go-to, my quad I use for just about everything except racing. And it's got the hold on, I have to get the book because it's such a memorable name. It's got the HawkEye FireFly 4K split camera in it, but it hasn't got the original one in it because the original one is over here. Here's the original one. Now, you recall when I reviewed this, I had a problem, and I thought that this microphone here had shorted out on the board and stuffed the camera, right? So, to their immense credit, geekbuying.com sent a replacement. Good on you, geekbuying.com. That's really, I'm impressed actually. But I get a lot of people grizzling and moaning about Banggood and orders that don't ship on time, and not getting refunds and stuff. Geekbuying.com stepped up to the plate. They sent a replacement out straight away. Brilliant, fantastic. Now, the interesting thing is that I thought it was my fault. I thought this is my fault. I blew up the old one because I didn't heat shrink down this little microphone. So, first thing I did when I got this was I put a bit of heat shrink over the microphone and shrunk it up, and I glued it to the board so there's no way that the microphone could short out against the circuit board and cause that problem. And then I took the quad out, put the gear in, took it out to the local park and did some flying. Well, as you can see, the quality of the image is pretty damn good. I was quite impressed. Now, latency, yes, there's some latency, but it's manageable. I could fly this thing through gaps. I could gap it, and I could fly nice around the trees and things. I did notice a bit harder to maintain a constant altitude, but towards the end of the flight, I was getting the hang of it, and it was really nice to fly. And the FPV footage, the composite video footage of my goggles, was much better than my RunCam split delivers. And I was thinking, this is just the bee's knees, right? So I did some filming at 4K, 30 frames per second. As you can see here, this video has been rendered in 4K, so you can watch it in 4K and see what it looks like. Pretty damn good. So then there's a little mode button on here. Let me just show you where that mode button is. There are two buttons here on the side of the thing. The one towards the back changes the video resolution. The one on the front starts and stops recording. So when I landed after doing some footage at 4K 30, I pressed this button to stop recording. Then I held this button down for 2 seconds, as it says in the manual, to change the video mode. And sure enough, it went from 4K 30 frames per second to 2.7K 60 frames a second. Bing, bing, you can see it on the FPV goggles here. Changed, perfect. So then I pressed the record button again, took off, and I filmed this footage at 2.7K 60 frames per second. Again, brilliant. It was lovely. The latency seemed a bit lower in the 60 frames per second mode, so it was much easier to fly. And generally, I was sold on this little split camera. Working really well. And the quality of the images, it's not GoPro, but for a split camera, it's pretty damn good. Nice and sharp. The colors were vibrant. Brilliant. I didn't have the wide dynamic range on, so there wasn't, the light handling wasn't as good as it could have been, but I wanted to go through the whole thing. I had a whole pack full of batteries. I was going to go through every video mode, through the wide dynamic range on and off, and give you a comprehensive review of this board. So I landed after the 2.7K 60 frames per second flight. I pressed the stop record button. Then I held down the mode button again to switch it into the next mode, which should have been 1080p at 120 frames a second. And this happened. As you can see, everything went black. What is going on? And the camera will not power on again. I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to let you see what happens to this camera, to this board camera. Look. It goes beep, 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 and stops. Now, this button is also a power button. I think this one here. Or is it that one? Or is it this one? So this acts as a power button and a record, start, stop. It does exactly the same thing as the last one. 3 beeps, blue light, and then powers off. So it wasn't my fault. There is a fatal flaw in this camera, and I'm not the only one that's had this problem apparently. I went to the HawkEye Facebook page and I saw someone else that had the same problem. When they switched to the 120 frames per second mode, the camera was bricked. Seriously. And I noticed that they had put a question on the Facebook page, and HawkEye had come back and said, update the firmware. But you can't update the firmware once the camera's bricked. Even if you plug in through the USB port, it just goes beep, beep, beep and turns off. So you can't update the firmware. That's it. And besides which, the guy said he tried that, didn't work. But no, it's now another totally bricked camera. So I've got 2 of them. 2 of these cameras totally bricked. Not because I did anything wrong, but because I followed the instructions. And because there is a firmware bug in here that completely bricks the camera if you try and use the 120 frame per second 1080p mode. That is totally unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Now, I left a message on their Facebook support page. You know, this is my problem, and I included video showing the situation and what had happened as I've put in this review video. And I thought, well, they'll get back to me. You get an automated response saying, thank you, we've got your message. No response. Zero response. Absolutely zero response from HawkEye. So, as I say, big thumbs up to geekbuying.com, the retailer, because they stepped up to the plate and sent another one. But the manufacturer or the distributor, whoever, maybe HawkEye don't make these, maybe they just rebadge them or something, I don't know. But this product, as it stands, is complete and utter crap. Yeah, great footage, brilliant, lovely form factor, acceptable latency, but any product that you can brick simply by selecting a mode in the menu or pressing a button on the side as per the instructions is not an acceptable quality, absolutely not. And if the manufacturer is not going to step up to the plate and say, we're sorry, we made a mistake, we'll replace these units that are bricked, then I cannot recommend them. I absolutely cannot. It's very rarely that I give a really harsh do not buy message in a review, but I would say avoid this thing like the plague. You may have one now, you may be using it on 4K or 1080p 60 or whatever, but if you accidentally select the 120 frames per second mode, well, goodbye camera, goodbye your money. Now they may do a firmware update. In fact, they may have done a firmware update. I tested it as it arrived, because most people will take it out of the box, put it in and use it. Now maybe the new firmware solves this problem. But in that case, why is there not a warning? Why have they not? There's no mention on their support page, on their Facebook page, before you use your camera, update the firmware. Nothing like that. It doesn't say in here, before you use this camera, update the firmware. No, nothing like that. So there's no warning. So hapless users who buy these things like that, put them in a plane or a quad and try and use, even if you're just stepping through that mode to get, because the way this button works is it starts at 4K 30, then it goes to 2.7K 60, then it goes to 1080p 120. If you're trying to go down to 1080p 60, you've got to go through the mode that bricks the camera. Unacceptable, totally bad. So yeah, my full support for geekbuying.com, who stepped up to the plate as a retailer, but seriously, I gave HawkEye the opportunity to even just come back to me and say, oh, we acknowledge this is a problem, here's what we're doing, but they haven't even responded. Been zero response to my customer support inquiry. So as a brand, no, definitely no. There are much, I mean, I'm putting my runcam split back in there. No, the picture quality isn't as good with my runcam split. No, the FPV feed isn't as good with my runcam split. But I've had this runcam split in this quad for years, and it has just kept on going. I had some early problems early on, but I fixed those, and it just goes. And I've even ripped the wires off the circuit board here, I had to glue them on because I've had so many crashes. It just keeps working. And now that I've got the 3.6mm lens on there, it gives a pretty damn good picture, to be honest. I would love to use this 4K split. I would love to use this, but it's a brick. It's all I can use it for now is nose weight. It's not even heavy enough for that in a fixed wing. So yeah, this is one of the very few occasions when I say avoid, avoid, avoid. Because even if you buy one that does have software that fixes the problem, clearly HawkEye are not interested in even acknowledging flaws in the product or fixing them, or sorting out customers that find that all they've done is bought a very expensive and ultimately uselessly light paperweight. There you go. That's probably ruffled some feathers, hasn't it? But I'd like to hear your comments on this. Am I being unreasonable when I say that a product that can be bricked by following the menu and just selecting one of the available options is not a product you want to buy? Yeah, you tell me. And yeah, I'd like to hear that. So thanks for watching, people. And again, my thanks to geekbuying.com for sending 2 of these now for review. And I'm really sorry that I can't recommend it as a purchase because it's just crap. But by way of compensation to Geek Buying, there's a link in the description. Go and have a look. Have a troll around. It's not an affiliate link. I don't make any money. If you're thinking of buying something and you've had a guts full of Banggood, give geekbuying.com a try. You never know. They may provide a better service and you may be happier. Thanks for watching, folks. And thanks to my Patreon supporters who have enabled us to produce yet another YouTube video without mid-roll ads. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.